Okay, how's it going, everybody? We're going to read some more Karl Marx today. This is from 1866, and this section is called Trade Unions, Their Past, Present, and Future. Let's go ahead and get into this. First, he's got these in three sections here. It's not a long read between all three of them. It's A is their past, B is their present, and then C is their future. Let's go ahead and get into this. A, their past. Capital is concentrated social force, while the workman has only to dispose of his working force. The contract between capital and labor can therefore never be struck on equitable terms. Equitable even in the sense of a society which places the ownership of the material means of life and labor on one side and the vital productive energies on the opposite side. The only social power of the workmen is their number. The force of numbers, however, is broken by disunion. The disunion of the workmen is created and perpetuated by their unavoidable competition among themselves. Trades unions originally sprang up from the spontaneous attempts of workmen at removing or at least checking that competition, in order to conquer such terms of contract as might raise them at least above the condition of mere slaves. The immediate object of trades unions was therefore confined to everyday necessities, to expediences, for the obstruction of the incessant encroachments of capital. In one word, the questions of wages and time of labor. This activity of the trades unions is not only legitimate, it is necessary. It cannot be dispensed with so long as the present system of production lasts. On the contrary, it must be generalized by the formation and the combination of trades unions throughout all countries. On the other hand, unconsciously to themselves, the trades unions were forming centers of organization of the working class, as the medieval municipalities and communes did for the middle class. If the trade unions are required for the guerrilla fights between capital and labor, they are still more important as organized agencies for superseding the very system of wages, labor, and capital rule. Okay, so that was their past. Now we're going to read their present. Too exclusively bent upon the local and immediate struggles with capital, the trades unions have not fully understood their power of acting against the system of wages slavery itself. They therefore kept too much aloof from general social and political movements. Of late, however, they seem to awaken to some sense of their historical mission, as appears, for instance, from their participation in England in the recent political movement, from the enlarged views taken of their function in the United States, and from the following resolution, passed at the recent Great Conference of Trades Delegates at Sheffield. Quote, that this conference, fully appreciating the efforts made by the International Association to unite in one common bond of brotherhood, the working men of all countries must earnestly recommend to the various societies here represented the advisability of becoming affiliated to that body, believing that it is essential to the progress and prosperity of the entire working community. C, their future. Apart from their original purposes, they must now learn to act deliberately as organizing centers of the working class in the broad interests of its complete emancipation. They must aid every social and political movement tending in that direction, considering themselves and acting as the champions and representatives of the whole working class. They cannot fail to enlist the non-society men into their ranks. They must look carefully after the interests of the worst paid trades, such as the agricultural laborers, rendered powerless, French text has incapable of organized resistance, by exceptional circumstances. They must convince the world at large, French and German text reads, convince the broad masses of workers, that their efforts, far from being narrow and selfish, aim at the emancipation at the downtrodden millions. Okay, so yeah, I had different translations from different texts. Well, thank y'all for tuning in. This is Marx the Saw. Y'all can follow me, on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, Tumblr, Medium. All of these, Marx the Saw. Thank y'all for tuning in. But y'all have a great day, and Dodada Goy.